Welcome back, everybody. Today, I'm joined with Gerb and Ubby, and we're going to go over the Suns vs. Bucks preview and what we believe on this series will happen, some stats, and some history, and ultimately what we think can potentially could happen. So, all right, let's get into it. So first, okay, let's start off with the history between the Suns and the Bucks. Not many people know that there's history between them because they're opposite conferences, but there's some unspoken rivalry between them. The Phoenix Suns have never made the finals, as this is the first time in 53 years. And the Bucks, well, the last time they made it, they were carried by a Mr. Somebody who was named Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And this is their first playoff berth since 1974. So it's perhaps fitting that these two teams have a bit of history. So back in 1968, when Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was drafted, it was actually a coin flip between the Suns and the Bucks. And sadly for the Bucks, they did not land Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Instead, they landed somebody by the name of Neil Walk. Have you guys heard of Neil Walk before?
No.
Nope.
No.
Let's just say he had the hairiest chest in the NBA. But he was a decent player. He averaged about 20 points a game in one of his best seasons on 47% shooting. But yeah, that's about it. So these teams probably didn't like each other. I can guess the Suns resented the Bucks for taking Kareem Abdul-Jabbar from them. And there's also some other hidden players in there. PJ Tucker, we know, was a big fan of playing for the Suns, but now he isn't. So, where do they lie in recent terms? The Suns are 5-1 against the Milwaukee Bucks in the last games, in which DeAndre Ayton has played, as this will become a factor moving on to our next part. So, we're moving on to stats. Now, this is the part where I think everybody's interested in, as in the playoffs, both Devin Booker has been playing pretty impressive. He's been averaging 27 points per game on good field goal shooting, and has just been relatively well. His turnovers are a bit high. As actually, quickly, who do you think has the most turnovers? The Suns top player or the Bucks top player?
Buck.
No, you'd be wrong. The Buck, surprisingly, is averaging 4 turnovers per game. So that's a bit costly for the Suns. Now moving on to DeAndre Ayton, a huge factor in this series, as the Suns are 5-1 against the Bucks when DeAndre Ayton has played. In this course, or this run, he's averaged 16.5 points and 12 rebounds. Pretty dominant for a big man in this area, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that leaves us with Chris Paul, who's had stellar play, 18 and 9. They also have Mikal Bridges that gives them 11 with good solid defense and good shooting. He shoots roughly around 60% from 2-point range, which is vitally impressive. And his 3-point percentage is a bit down, but we can see some improvements, 35%. And we have Jay Crowder. I think it's safe to say Jay Crowder has become every Phoenix favorite player because of his intensity, his hustle, giving them 10.5 points, along with good shooting, again, with 45% from 3. Now, moving on to the Bucks. The Bucks are also an interesting team. They're led by Giannis and Chris, both averaging 28 and 23 respectively. Giannis is averaging a double-double with 13 rebounds, which is mightily impressive. Chris Middleton's given them a bit of everything, 8 and 5 in terms of total rebounds and assists. Jrue Holiday has been steadily a bit inconsistent in terms of his stats, as he's shooting only 30% from 3, which compared to the regular season, he shoots a mere 39%. So this is a bit of a 92% or 0.92% drop for Jrue Holiday, which isn't something that the Bucks are particularly going to look for as a positive. But he's been giving them solid play with solid defense. With the role players stepping up, Bobby Portis, surprisingly, is their 5th leading scorer in this playoff with 9.3 points. So all those stats, everything looks about the same, but there could be a few key points that we have to look at. So now we're going to move on to the 5 things that we should watch in these playoffs. So first thing is that Giannis Antetokounmpo is averaging 40 points against the Phoenix Suns this offseason. In their first meeting, he had 47, 11, and 5 on a good 15 for 23. But what did that result in? A 1-point lead for the Suns. Then in their second meeting, Giannis had 33, 8 on 12 for 22 and 9 for 10 from the line. But yet again, it led for a 1-point win for the Suns. So we can expect Giannis to go off, but the question is, can the Bucks supporting cast do the job? Because if Giannis is dropping you 47, 11 to 5, and you don't win, there's a major problem there. Because that is more than enough that you're asking from Giannis. And we have to expect here Giannis may not be healthy. Now, second thing to watch out for is the fact that Milwaukee's offensive rating has increased significantly in games 5 and 6 versus the Hawks. Now, that is great news for the Bucks, obviously, as it increased to 123 points. That is a lot of points. That's and following game after game 5, they had 118 points. Obviously, you could say this is a bit of a fluke as it had Brook Lopez dropping 33, but it shows that in the later series of games, the Bucks will step up and will get the job done offensively. So the question is, can the Suns defensively do enough to where they don't have to go crazy on offense to win? Now, another factor that could be interesting to watch is the fact that Devin Booker and Chris Paul are two dominant mid-range shooters in the NBA. During the regular season, Chris Paul attempted the most mid-range shots, ahead of Julius Randle by a total of 26. And entering to the finals, Paul and Booker at 45 and 44, which is second and third, obviously behind Kevin Durant, who's been on stellar play this full offseason. But for Devin Booker, there's a question about field goal percentage, as he is at only 41.1% field goal. And among the top 10 players, he's currently tied. He's currently tied for second last, tied with Embiid at around 41%. So that raises a question: is the mid-range game something that the Suns can bank on and use as their bread and butter to win? Now, moving on to the third thing is Milwaukee Bucks defensive rating at 105. In the regular season, it was at 110.7, but now that by then was the best defensive rating. Now it's at 105, is significantly the best defensive rating. Now, Suns are doing their part. They're holding up to 100 points, 106.7 points per 100 possessions in the playoffs, which is better than what they had in the regular season. So both teams can do the job defensively, as shown in these playoffs. However, with both teams having a lot of offensive power, it comes to the question: will their defense actually hold up? Now, the last thing that I think will turn the tide in this playoffs is how many players between the Suns and the Bucks have ever went to the finals. I'll ask you guys, take your guess right now. Who do you think, or what is the number of players that went to the finals on both teams?
Um, I saw this on Bleacher Report like about a week ago. I think it's like one person. I think it's just Jay Crowder.
Real close to yes.
I don't know actually.
All right, I'll be right. It's only
Okay.
one player. That means Jay Crowder. If Giannis were to play, so if Giannis was not to play, how will this impact the series? For example, if he sits up game 1 and 2, what will this do for the Bucks?
Okay, I'll take this one. I think if Giannis doesn't play, it'll have a chance for other players like Brook Lopez, Bobby Portis, Drew Holiday to step up defensively. Uh, Drew Holiday will be more aggressive, I think. Brook Lopez, he'll get more confident in the paint with Bobby Portis, and that's how it'll impact the team.
Now, moving on to the second point is, since we all know the Phoenix Suns love their pick and roll, it's their bread and butter. They love to put Aiden in there. They love to throw in Sarge on a pick and pop. They just like to put players with Paul and Booker in order for them to create shots, to create for others. How do you think? How do you think the Milwaukee Bucks should approach this? Obviously, they have Brook Lopez on the court. There's sometimes when Phoenix, if well, here's the thing: if Milwaukee goes small, and in terms that Chris Paul keeps cooking Brook Lopez, if they go small, then DeAndre Ayton becomes a problem. Because DeAndre Ayton will simply catch the ball, turn and score. So for the Bucks, how would you approach this?
Um, I'd play Brook Lopez and Bobby Portis. I'll obviously play them. Obviously, we've seen the Suns against smaller lineups. For example, against the injured Clippers team, it was sort of a smaller lineup. They were missing Kawhi, one of the best players in this league in terms of clutchness, and also in terms of just player ability. And without a doubt, could have brought the Clippers to a Game 7 bout. But I personally think that the Bucks, they just really need to step up their offensive game. defense, okay, you can have defense, but Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton's just going to cook, and Chris Paul is just himself. He's just going to hit those mid range shots. So I think that what the Bucks need to do is that they need to push their offense and they need to start getting more buckets in the paint as well as the three line. Because we've seen the series against the Nets, and it was absolutely disastrous. The Bucks 3 point percentage was I think below 30, if not below 20%. And if the Bucks were to up their 3 point percentage in those games, I think they would have won against the Nets in Game 5 or Game 6. But obviously, the game's already happened. I think looking forward, I think what the Bucks need to really do is up their 3 point percentage.
Yep. All right, now, Grip, this is a question for you. As we can see from the previous series, the Atlanta Hawks, the Bucks played unusual, especially with Giannis being injured. As for the first couple of games, they used a soft coverage about 26% of all Atlanta ball screens. However, when Giannis went down in games 5 and 6, Milwaukee finished off the series with the percentage dropping all the way to 9%, meaning that they started to use more switches and they just started using the less idea of soft screens. How do you think the Bucks will adjust into the series with Chris Paul, Devin Booker, and players like Cameron Payne?
Okay. Well, ultimately, I think it comes down to the coach. If they'll put the ball in Devin Booker's hands or Chris Paul's hands.
I would answer. We're going to be asking for your predictions on the series. So first of all, Abby, what do you think is going to happen in the series?
I think Game 1, since Game 1's happening in Phoenix, I think Suns are going to win the first game. Second game, I think Bucks will win. And yeah, Bucks home games, I think Bucks will take them. So I'll be a 3-1 lead. I think then back in Phoenix is going to win one game. And I think in Game 6, Bucks will finish the Suns. But that's if Giannis is playing, obviously. Without Giannis, I think it'll go other way around. Suns will beat the Bucks in Game 6. But if we have a solid, healthy Giannis, I think Bucks will win in Game 6. I think that's without a doubt. And yeah, that's basically my prediction. Bucks in 6 if Giannis is playing.
All right, Bill, what's your prediction for the series?
I think Suns in 4, bro. They're gonna win every game.
Suns in 4. You're riding with the hype train. All right, as I somehow predicted Bucks to make the finals, I think I have to back the Bucks. I think the series will go the distance relatively because I don't know. I feel like Giannis is going to come back, or if he can start from Game 1, I think he'll show flashes of his pure dominance, and then he'll have off games, coming up from injury. So I think it'll go distance to 7. And just really the fact is, will Giannis be Giannis? Will he be as dominant? Because if he can be dominant, I think the Suns don't have a chance because we seen, as mentioned before, Giannis was cooking the Suns. The problem was the support cast wasn't as good. Now they have chemistry, they gel together. We've seen many players have timely games. Bobby Portis, Brook Lopez, Chris Milton against the Nets was huge. Drew Holiday showed he has the ability to dig in at times. PG Tucker's come in. He's done his thing. So I think Bucks, if they can ride Giannis as healthy as possible, can go the distance at 1-7. So Bucks to 7. All right, guys, that was our Bucks for Suns prediction. Obviously, we cover the history, the stats, and just generally what we feel about the series. We made our predictions. I predicted Bucks in 7. Obi predicted Bucks in 6, and Capri followed the match society like usual and predicted the Suns in 4. So until next time, we'll see you guys later. Be sure to hit the subscribe and turn on the bell, and also leave a like on this video, as we'll be coming back with more heat.